dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle, and let's begin exploring the wine glass. Today, we return to Winephabet Street, where the letter of the day is E, and it stands for Dorado AVA. The region produces a large diversity of varietals. Notable varieties are Zinfandel, Barbera, and Syrah, and there are significant plantings of Rhône varietals. You never know what you can find, so you're going to want to visit. Our special guest is Kara Sather, Dorado Wine Association Executive Director. If you enjoy exploring the wine glass, I'd appreciate you giving me some love by taking 2 minutes out of the day to write up a review on whatever app you're listening on. It is the best way to support the show. And if you would like to keep up on everything Exploring the Wine Glass, please sign up for the newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, someday service, champagne specialist, and WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
Give me the wine, every time.
Hey everybody, welcome. So we are here for our third season of Winephabet Street, and we are up to the letter E, and today we are talking Dorado. And I'm excited about this because, it's a region that you hear about, but it's not something I know very well. So I'm excited to learn more. We have a special guest here today, Kara Sather. And we're going to get to introducing her and learn all about Dorado wine, AVA. And we have I have two wines. Debbie only has one. One is coming tomorrow. But so we're going to talk about some wines, talk about the region. But in the meantime, I am your co-host, Lori. I am a WSET Level 2 graduate, champagne specialist, UC Davis winemaking program graduate, and owner of Jersina Wines. And I am still not taking that test for Spanish wine scholar. One of these days I'll get around to taking that test. But my co-host, Debbie.
I'm Debbie Zinfandel. I'm the Hudson Valley wine goddess. I'm a certified specialist of wine, a wine location specialist in Port and Champagne, and a wine sherry specialist. I am chairwoman of the Hudson Valley Wine competition that's coming up in September, that's held at the Hudson Valley Wine Festival. It's a Saturday, September 10th, the Saturday after Labor Day. And I am partner in a restaurant in North Wildwood called Trio North Wildwood, where that consumes me in July and August.
Yeah, so my name is Kara Sather, and I am the executive director of the Dorado Winery Association. I have been in this position for just about 6 years, I guess. But I've been in the wine industry for probably 15 to 20 years, dabbling in different areas. And I'm just, thankful and for you guys bringing me on.
Well, thank you. We are excited to learn about Dorado. And before we get down to that nitty gritty, we're going to get a little visit from Elmo.
We start with A, B, C, and we go all the way to C. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Each letter makes a sound. Let's sound them out now. We start with ABC and we go all the way.
So welcome, Kara. Thank you for your help in organizing this, getting on it. So it's kind of a cool concept.
Yes.
And then the other wine that I have that Debbie will be getting tomorrow is a 2016 Zinfandel from Too Good Winery. And I'm really kind of cool to learn about there's a woman on the back. I want to know who that woman is.
I don't know.
There is a woman on the back.
I'll have to text them and say, who's the woman on the back of the label?
All right. So Debbie and I agree that we never drink before we get together on video. So Deb, do you have your glass?
I got my glass.
Kara, do you have a glass?
I do not have a glass. I mean, I've got lots behind me that I can go help myself.
Well, we have in our glasses Skinner, and I'd like to raise a glass to El Dorado Wines and Slancha.
Cheers.
All right, and we will get into that wine in a little bit. But Kara, tell us a little bit about your origin story. So how did you find your way to wine?
Well, so I'm Canadian. And when I was 18, my brother sat me down and he says, this is like, the drinking age there is 18. You're going to learn to like wine. And he sat me down and just took me through a whole bunch, mostly Napa Cab. But I wasn't feeling too well the next day, but that was my first real introduction to wine, besides the little teaser pours that you get at Easter or Christmas dinner that, parents would give you. So, and I did develop a love for wine at that point. I actually started my career more in the marketing promotions field. I was with a financial institution in Canada, and my boss there was heavily into wine. So he had indicated that I should, really explore this. And so sorry for the background noise. So anyway, that's how it started. And then it morphed into, I was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years, and then decided I really want to get into the wine industry. And I actually started with something you might be familiar with, Lori, Wine Shop at Home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a fun, yeah. So that was eons ago. But then I, have just always been in wine. And then when I had been in marketing and promotions and creating a lot of events, I started at a couple wineries in El Dorado County. I was at David Gerard Vineyards for about 5 years and did, pretty much your
role here more like organizational to all of the wineries there, or PR, or is it all encompassing?
It is very all encompassing. The real goal of the association is to market and promote the wines, but my particular role doesn't just lend itself to that. I also create and manage all of the events and a lot of advocacy work as well, whether it's to do with regional, state, federal politics, and during COVID, it was just a constantly changing battle where you're trying to inform the wineries on it seemed almost minute by minute basis where, okay, now you can serve wine, but you have to serve it with food. Well, now you have to be outside, but you have to be socially distanced. It was like, hey, what are we doing now? What are we allowed to do? What can't we do? So all of that kind of thing. And then it's also turned into managing during wildfire season, which is not fun, but we experienced that very heavily last year. We had the Caldor fire that impacted, virtually every winery in our region.
Wow.
So that was tough. But it was also being a liaison between, our agricultural community here with the wineries, with law enforcement, and with Cal Fire, getting permission for some of the wineries to return to their properties because, so many were evacuated. So the role is very diverse for sure.
It's a good way to say it.
Yes.
I say it. So El Dorado means gilded one in Spanish. Refers to a place of great wealth and inordinate opportunity. How does that correlate to the region, to the area?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because gold was discovered here in El Dorado.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that can tie into. Like I said, when I was at David Gerard Vineyards, gold was actually discovered 1 mile from that property. So it's potentially anywhere here still in the foothills. But that's, what this region was originally known for. Placerville, which is our main, historic little town, was where, all the miners sort of came and stayed, and that became the hub of the gold rush.
And so where exactly is El Dorado AVA located, and when was it formed? When did it gain its status?
So El Dorado AVA it actually came to status in the 80s. I can't remember the exact time, but El Dorado is located between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. There's Highway 50 that drives up through Sacramento's Lake Tahoe, and we're right in the middle of that. And we are very geographic. AVA within El Dorado called Fairplay, which is also has it's got its own designation as well, but it's still part of the El Dorado community as a whole.
So it pretty much spans a pretty large area.
It does. It's very, very geographically spread out for sure.
Is there like trails within each area, or?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have on our website, you can check out, but we have them sort of listed in the different areas so that when people are planning their routes, you're not going from one region to the other and back and forth, which would make for a very long, complicated driving day. But, historically, I'm just sort of bringing this back again with how we were talking about the gold rush. El Dorado actually had more vineyards than any other region in California besides Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Pre-prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very interesting.
I was just listening to a podcast, and I'm going to forget the name of it because it was the first time I was listening to it. But the person is a geologist. So she's telling the story of, she was getting to Santa Barbara was where she was getting to, but she was talking while she's driving and she's trying to describe what's going on. And on it, they were talking about how LA was really the home of vineyards for California and how it had the largest amount of vineyards of really any area, set area. And then prohibition hit and, rip them up and
they're gone.
That leads me to which is older, is El Dorado's one of the older wine regions in California. Is it?
It is, yeah.
The oldest, or now we're talking about?
I don't know that for sure. I don't want to I don't know for sure. I just know it is definitely one of the oldest. And I know that one of sort of the founding father of the modern day El Dorado wine region is Greg Boger, and on Boger property, they actually unearthed under some blackberry bushes when they first launched in 1972. So they just had their 50th anniversary, but they found some old Zin vines pre-prohibition. So from the 1800s that were on their property, and they're still producing fruit today. So it's really cool.
That is cool. So do you think so Napa was 82, right? Napa was 82 and Sassoon was 83, I think. So do you think that did you
No, I don't think we predated them.
No. Okay.
Not as an official AVA. You know what? That's something I should know the exact date of, and I don't. So I'm going to make a note to find that out.
Okay. But it's been a recognized AVA for a very long time.
Oh yes, it has. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
And then the fair play.
Yes,
that is a sub AVA or a nestled AVA, however you want to say it. Is that relatively new, or has that been its?
I believe they got that in. It is relatively maybe 20 in the early 2000s, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying it's very sprawled out, but it's not heavily populated, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. You can see the mountains in Tahoe. You can see, so it's really strikingly gorgeous. Yeah. And then the other thing that's really lends itself to our region is the fact that we have, the American River flowing through here, which is one of the top whitewater rafting destinations in the world. So it's just a very cool spot where you can come, you can go wine tasting, you can go whitewater rafting, you can go skiing, you can go, incredible hiking. We've got the Desolation Wilderness, which is another, famous hiking area. So there's a lot to do here. That's what we really kind of say is this is a region you come to experience, not just to taste wine, but to really experience all there is, the historical aspect, the active outdoor living aspect, as well as the incredible wines.
Very cool.
That's a big area to manage.
It is. It's geographically, it's and it is very spread out. And it actually, I have to laugh because we have different, passport events. So people really have to plan where they're going. Mm-hmm. And I always send out, customers, survey and feedback on, what they liked about the event or any suggestions or comments. And I did have one person comment once that the wineries need to be closer together.
Yes.
We'll just pick them up and
I said we'll work on that.
I had your job somewhat in the Hudson Valley at one stage of the game, and it was pretty much the same square miles and everything. And it was, you have to manage your time correctly.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, you can go to our different pockets and hit a number of wineries in one area, but that's also why we have an event coming up called Winecation, which is actually taking place September 17th, 18th. But it really gives people a chance to sort of come here, have a little vacation, but you can go to one region one day, go to another region the other day. Just because it is so spread out, it becomes difficult to do more than one in a day.
And now with it being that spread out, what's the soil compositions within it? Is it generally all the same, or with it being that spread out, is it, this pocket has limestone, this pocket has calcareous, this pocket,
Absolutely. It is very much spread out. That's part of what we celebrate here is our diversity. We've got an incredible diversity of soil types, and actually one of the grandfathers of Lava Cap, which is one of our more established wineries, he was a geologist. He did an entire soil study. So anyone who really wants to dive into it, it's available. But we've got a lot of, deep composed granite is common here. Limes, it's just so diverse, again, because of the history of the region. So Lava Cap actually does, have, it was on an old lava cap. So they've got, that flowing into it. Then they've got with so much to offer that it allows us to produce over 70, commercially produced varieties of wine just because we can, and we can do it well.
That's amazing. And even if you think about it, if your lowest vineyard's at 1,200, you're high altitude, kind of,
Yeah.
So
you're going from high altitude to really high altitude.
Exactly.
What's the weather like? I mean, you must go from, you go to extremes. I mean,
yes.
You get frost, and does it kill the vines? I mean,
yes.
You probably
yes and yes.
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 So it's interesting you're asking about the frost this year. So, I mean, today, right now, it's warm. It's over 100 degrees here today. But then we do get snow. So we have this whole wide range, and we did experience a late frost this year, which was challenging, and it did have an impact on, some of the fruit. So they're not going to be able to have as an abundant harvest as, typical years. But the other thing is they're also looking at that fruit as being really concentrated. So the wines that do come from this year should be absolutely outstanding. They're just might not be as much of it because there's not as much fruit.
So walk me through what your seasons are, because you have all 4 seasons, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So
compared to you and Hudson Valley, so we do have, right now we're in the heat of our summer, and this is like the dog days of summer. Mm-hmm. It's hot. And we do at least get cooling nights still, and the the winds that flow, the breezes that come off the rivers help to keep the vines cool at night. So that's also very helpful. Then we move into, unfortunately, we don't get a lot of rainy season because we are in the California drought area. But we do get some rain in the late fall, but we can have absolutely incredible, beautiful 70-degree, 75-degree days in November. But then we can transition quickly into December and you can have snow and ice. So we definitely go through that. And then the springtime here is just gorgeous because everything is lush and green. That's when we do see some rains and it's so breathtakingly beautiful. And then we move into the heat.
So you did mention kind of some of the geographical parameters that affect the El Dorado, like you were mentioning rivers and things like that. So like what are the features geographically? You said you had the Sierra foothills, right?
Right.
Rivers.
So I mean, so if you look at the whole terroir of the region, we really have the ability. We have many microclimates because of so you can combine the elevation, right? Like as we talked about, going from 1500 to 300, that has an impact on the wine varieties and what grows better at higher elevation. It lends itself to a lot of canopy management when you're looking at the vineyards, because you got to make sure during these hot summer suns that the grapes aren't getting sunburned, that type of thing. What grapes are going to do what, better with a southern exposure, because we've got the hills. So we've got all these different, faces that you can, whether you're planting. So all of those factors, and the soil types. So we have the soil types, we have, the cooling prevailing winds that come off of the rivers to keep things cool in the evenings. We've got the heat of the summer, we've got the elevation. So there's a lot of factors that combine really allow the winemakers here to kind of have that pioneering spirit. And that's why we have, this kind of like, you want to see, you can taste the world of wine right here in El Dorado, because you've
got a lot of
yes
varieties. So what grows well and where? Because I would assume, there's certain areas that Pinotage might grow well, and Zinfandel will grow well, and all these different varieties.
It grows. It's interesting you say that, because each area has different pockets that can grow different varieties well. So it's hard to define like, in Fairplay, this grows well, in, this area, this grows well, because within one property or vineyard, they can have multiple different varieties that grow well, depending upon all those other influences that we talked about. But one definite common thread that you see is Rhône varietals. We see a lot of Grenache, Mourvedre. They do exceptionally well in this region for sure. As well as some of the, Zinfandel and Barbera, of course, is also very common in this region. But, Grenache Blanc is another one that is outstanding. So we do have the ability to, depending upon the creativity and to a certain degree, the risk of, the different winemakers or vineyard managers or winery owners, that's why we have this sort of plethora of wine varieties here. I don't know if that really answered your question, because it just...
You did, pretty much, because like in this Skinner, I'm going to use what we're drinking here.
Right. It's a good time to talk about the wine, I think.
Sure. Yeah, there is this, in this wine, there are grapes that I've actually, first time for me, like the Petite Bouchette, the Tresau. I actually had to look them up, they're a first for me. And I'm terrible at pronunciation.
Carignan?
Yeah.
Carignan?
No, not Carignan.
No, Counoise.
Yeah, Counoise. And actually it says it's grown in New Jersey, California, and Washington, and Chattanooga. So these were just new grapes to me, and I thought, wow, these, and they're all like the Tresau is known as Bastardo. It's from France.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was just really interesting. And the same thing with the Petit Pochette. It's from France. It's a hybrid from France, and you know, it's.
And then you've got the Mission, which is you know, good old USA. Yeah, it's. And that's one of the things that when I was like looking around at multiple wineries, it's almost like everybody's like, we're proud of the variety. We don't want to be singled out. We don't want to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting. That's kind of been this like undercurrent debate in the region forever is, you know, Napa's known for produce it exceedingly well. That why would we pigeonhole ourselves into go here for this? You know, it's just a much better experience for the consumer to say, you know what, go there and you're going to have a different experience at every winery you go to. You can try all these different wines instead of, you know, going and getting, you know, Pinot Noir after Pinot Noir after Pinot Noir. That can be fun, but it's also, you know, you can get a little bit of palate fatigue. So this just makes you, you know, keep a fresh palate and you can experience all of this.
So on Skinner's tech sheet for this 2019 Native Red, it says an approachable blend that incorporated all of our strange legacy fruit married with varieties that are more common, but nevertheless El Dorado through and through. Radiant and wild.
That's a perfect description of our region.
Yeah. Radiant and wild?
Yes. I would say that. I mean, but there's also definitely, I don't want it to, I mean, we talk about our pioneering spirit, but it's also a very pleasant experience. The wineries are, you know, very beautiful and well appointed. You know, I don't want to give this impression like you're going to pull up and be drinking out of the back of a pickup truck or something, you know.
I've done that before.
Nothing against that. Nothing against that.
And so while we're on the Skinner wine, we'll just jump a little. Can you tell us a little bit about Skinner? I'm assuming this is their winery or their ranch.
Yeah. So what's interesting with Skinner is they were originally founded, I think it's 1861. I don't want to misspeak, but
no, I have that in my notes.
Okay. So Mike and Carrie Skinner, who are the current owners of Skinner Vineyard, they were looking for, you know, establishing a property here. And I believe it was their son that found out that they actually had ancestors that were winemakers in the region. So they dug into that. They found that property. They purchased some of that property, which
their
is
original family's property.
Some of it is their original family property, but where the actual winery is, and where that's not the original, but it's still just a really cool story. That's how they,
like in Skinner's, California, which is now called the town of, is it Rogue? I can't read my handwriting. The town that it's located in now.
Oh, Rescue.
See, I can't read my own handwriting. I told you. But it used to be called Skinner's, California.
Yeah, that's Rescue. Yeah.
Oh wow! So they had some significant history in the area. That if you have a town that was named after you, you have some significant
absolutely.
history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I remember from what I read, their family came from, I want to say, Scotland to Massachusetts.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
And then during the gold rush period, they went out to
They were part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how they settled in
But then the modern day Skinners, Mike and Carrie, they didn't know that history when they started looking into Brian.
Well, okay.
It sort of all came about when they, you know, their son found this out, and then they dug into it and they actually purchased it was interesting. When they purchased it was a nursery, like landscaping nursery.
Okay.
But it was the original Skinner distillery and winery, because I think they made hard alcohol as well back pre-Prohibition days. So they actually have that property.
On average, how many cases are they producing?
I don't want to misspeak on that because I'm not 100% sure. But they are one of the larger producers in our region.
They're one of the larger producers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this wine, there's what, 1,224
cases?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This wine.
And is this native red kind of like one of their flagships?
It's kind of one of their fun wines. It's not because it's unique, and it's a red wine that you can serve chilled, so it's great during the summer. So it's just sort of one of more of their fun wines, and like they said on the back of there, kind of radiant and wild. It's right. Not what you would typically expect, but it's definitely, again, just really reflects our region, and that we try to do things a little bit different here, a little bit off the beaten path, and try some different wines, and that's what we celebrate. It's not your typical sipping Chardonnay on a patio. It's like, yes, you can definitely do that here, but you can also have the opportunity to do so much more.
And sticking to that, the majority, about how many wineries are in El Dorado?
So we've got approximately 70 wineries in El Dorado. Okay. A lot of them are really tiny.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to ask. If you had to generalize El Dorado, which is horrible because they're all about the diversity. But so if you had to generalize it, are we looking at more smaller family-run wineries, or are we looking at larger production wineries?
No, it's definitely smaller family-run wineries here. That's one of the things that we hear from consumers that love us, is that sense of family. When you come here, when you come to El Dorado, you become part of our family. When you go to the wineries, you often will have the winemaker. You can meet the winemaker. They'll serve you the wine. You'll meet the owners. That's typically how a lot of them run. Even the larger wineries, such as Boger or Lavacap, it's still all family run.
Okay. And now, what would you consider with such a large region, what would you consider that center point to be? Like, if people wanted to come to El Dorado and, say, all right, I'm going to start my point here because it's the center point, where would you say they should go?
It's hard to say. I mean, Placerville is probably, there's sort of two main hubs, I guess you could say. As you come up 50 from Sacramento, the first place you're going to enter is El Dorado Hills. There's not really any wineries right in El Dorado Hills, but that's kind of a starting point. It's got some more hotels or accommodations, so people can, and it's more modernized. Like it's got the beautiful architecture, the town center with all the shops and the movie theaters and the restaurants, that type of thing. More of an upscale. I don't want to use the term strip mall because that sounds, you know what I mean? But it's beautiful in and of itself, but modern, beautiful, more contemporary. When you head up the hill, then you get to Placerville, which is really more of the hub of El Dorado in and of itself. So it's a historical city, as I mentioned before, where the gold rush is. And Main Street Placerville is just one of those super charming, quaint little districts where you have the historic hotel, you have the little antique shops, but then you also have the clothing boutiques and the fantastic restaurants. So it's a really fun place to visit, and you can start there. We've got a few wineries on Main Street that you can start your adventure there and move out from that way.
And now a word from our sponsor. Did you know that Dracaena Wines has a wine club? We named it the Chalk Club. Draco is on our label, but Vegas was getting a bit jealous, so we decided he deserved to be our wine club spokesdog. In Las Vegas, betting chalk means that you are betting on all of the favorites, and we're gambling that once you taste our wines, we will become one of your favorite wineries. The club is simple, yet a bit different than most. We don't ask for a lot of commitment like others do. Choose between 3 tiers. The Sweet 16, where you'll receive 3 bottles twice a year and get 25% off all orders. Sign up for the Elite 8 and get 30% off all orders and receive 4 bottles twice a year. Or make it to the Final 4 and receive 6 bottles twice a year, as well as receiving 35% off all purchases. All tiers receive discounted shipping, are customizable, and are eligible for unlimited referral bonuses. Add $15 to your bank for each person you refer. Head to www.dracinawines.com or the link in the show notes to find out all the Chalk Club has to offer and to sign up. We've stocked the odds so that you can get our award-winning wines without breaking the bank.
Now, there's different areas that
Yes.
encompass the whole region. Can you speak a little bit about each individual area?
Sure. So we'll start with the Coloma Lotus region. That's where, as I mentioned, I worked at David Gerard Vineyards. That's where David Gerard Vineyards is located, and there's a few different wineries down there. But that's a really cool historic spot where you can go and experience what life was like back during the gold rush. They especially during the summer, they have historical figures dressed up, walking the little streets, and you can try gold panning. They have a little museum. They have the remnants of some of the buildings. Like there's the old jail cells that are all stone walled that you can go walk through. And
I'm going to cut you off for 1 second. I think that when I was a kid, my parents took me here.
they probably did.
Because I remember being locked up in a jail, and I remember, and somewhere in my house in New Jersey, because I'm sure my mother hasn't thrown it away. I've got a little bag with my little gold in it.
Nugget. Aw.
Yeah, like no, I didn't win. I didn't get the nugget. I got like the little dusting stuff, and they're like,
Okay.
here you go, whatever. But like as you're describing it, and that's so weird because as you're describing it, I'm like, I've been
that.
here.
That's really
here.
cool. Yeah. So the actual place where it was discovered is called Sutter's Mill, and that you can go visit that. And again, it's got some cute little restaurants, and it's a real summer kind of area because it's also on the river, because that's where the gold was discovered, and that's the American River. So that's also where all the whitewater rafting is based out of. So there's a number of whitewater rafting companies down there. So that's just another aspect of El Dorado that you can experience and have fun. So that's Placerville area. Then as you head further east up towards Tahoe, you'll run into Apple Hill Camino area. Apple Hill is locally very popular tourist attraction starting in about September to December, really becomes Apple Hill season. Later on in September, but that's where you can go. I mean, there's just ranches upon farms. You can get all kinds of different, locally produced produce. They have the most amazing apple donuts. But there's all these different fun ranches and things to do, and kids come in. Then you run into the pumpkin picking season where you can all get your pumpkins, and then it morphs into the Christmas tree farm. So that whole region has all these farms and wineries, spread all amongst them. So it's a great place to visit as well. And then when we head back over to South County, which is where the Fairplay region is, there's a couple pockets there. We have the, the Pleasant Valley area where we've got a number of different wineries there that are absolutely stunningly beautiful and gorgeous. And a lot of them tend to produce Rhône wines, so they're fantastic. And then you move into Fairplay, which is really kind of like they kind of say the hidden gem of the region. They've got some outstanding wine producers in Fairplay, and that region is really growing as well and doing a fantastic job and has some unique properties. One of them, Saludi Cellars, recently just opened up horseback riding on their property. So you can actually go get on a horse, do some trail rides, have some wine. It's a lot to experience in this region for sure.
When you say it's an evolving area, do you see new wineries coming to play?
Yes, we do have new wineries coming all the time, and constant interest because we've got a reputation for having really high quality wines here and high quality fruit. The fruit here, many wineries from Napa and Sonoma will purchase fruit from El Dorado to help add to their wines in their region, because it's just really amazing quality here in this region. And because we have that diversity again, so they can sort of pick and choose what they'd like to play with, I guess.
And so going back to my previous question of the size of the wineries and things like that,
Okay.
do we see a large portion of wineries that have their own vineyards, or do we see more farmers that are then selling their fruit to wineries?
A combination of both.
Combination of both.
Yes, we do have a lot of wineries that have their own estate fruit and make it, but then we do have a lot of vineyards that sell to local producers as well as, as I mentioned, to other regions.
Okay. And so you had mentioned that Fair Play, I think that's which was when you said was an actual sub AVA or nestled.
Yeah, they have their
AVA.
own AVA designation. Yeah.
Okay. But the other areas, the Coloma, the Apple Hill, the Pleasant Valley, they're not sub AVAs.
No, they're not. They're just regions within El Dorado. Yes. Fair Play is the only other AVA designated region within El Dorado.
So when I'm looking at these two wines here, so the second wine is Too Good, which I'll show here. The Skinner says El Dorado. And this actually does say Fair Play. So do the majority of the wineries in Fair Play use that AVA designation, or do more? Because there's a lot of wine regions that have their AVAs, but they choose to use the larger one because it's more recognizable. Right. So, do those Fair Play wineries do that? I
think it's a combination. A lot of them are working really hard to bring more recognition to Fair Play, so they want Fair Play on their label. And some, especially if they have a bit wider distribution, they might go with the El Dorado label because it does have maybe at this point more, recognizable, being that it's the larger region of the two.
Wine produced at our magnificent winery located in beautiful Fair Play, California. We invite you to visit our magnificent winery and wine taste in our beautiful 5,000 square foot wine cave. Now, I went on this website and I've got to say that wine cave is insane.
Well, right? So let me tell you a little bit about their story. So Paul Tuga was the original owner of Tuga, but he sold it a couple of years ago to the Middlestat family. And so it's primarily run by Kayla and Tim, and Brad is also involved. And they have two locations. They have one on Main Street in Placerville, and then they've got the one you're talking about, the caves, and they are doing amazing things on that property. They've really enhanced it. They've also are putting in, I don't know if they're in place yet, but they should be soon, some really cool little tiny home places where you can stay, like an Airbnb. And they all face a pool, which is on the vineyard property. So you can walk up from your tiny home to a pool that's in the middle of a vineyard. So how amazing is that?
That's pretty darn nice.
So that's pretty incredible. And they're also revamping, adding in a whole new tasting room and restaurant that will be going in on their property as well. So that in and of itself is going to become its own destination with the little, I think they'll have maybe 4 or 5 of the little tiny homes that you can rent. And so they're doing some really cool things. And their winemaker, who makes wine or is a consulting winemaker for a few wineries in El Dorado, is Marco Capelli. And he's just sort of a local legend when it comes to wine. He's just absolutely outstanding.
All right. So this Zinfandel, Debbie, to share.
Yeah.
I feel so guilty.
Don't feel guilty because I've been, situations have been reversed.
It has been reversed. Yes. Debbie has actually received California wine that I had not received.
Oh,
where it should have
wow.
only
That's
taken like
crazy.
a day to get to me, and
Right.
it somehow went out of the state to get back to the state. But the Zinfandel is it's kind of tough to show on the camera, but it is a 2016, and it's not bricking at all, so it's nice. It has more of a spice versus that white peppery that is
Okay.
kind of a
Traditional
different.
Zin. Yeah.
Yes. But it's full of the dark fruit. It's ripe. It's very well made.
Okay. Yeah.
So you said it was a 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So was it made by the previous owners?
Yes,
but
because
I believe
it's got his name on it.
it's got his name, but what the individual owners or desires.
And the new owners are keeping the name Too Good?
They are keeping the name Too Good. They just felt it had locally a strong following, so they decided to stay with it. Yes.
So I'm not going to lie. When you had sent me the email that said, "Oh, you're going to be getting, this native red from Skinner and the Zinfandel from Too Good," I was like, "Oh my God, that's such a cute name, Too Good! Like,
Too Good.
It's too good of a winery. It's too
But
good."
But
it's his last name.
He was actually a veterinarian.
Was he?
Was he?
Yes. Yeah.
Dr. Too Good.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah.
Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Feelgood, right? Dr. Too Good. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It is a very nice Zinfandel. Like I said, it has the spice of what you typically think of as Zinfandel. It has the ripe fruit. It's definitely in the dark fruit realm. It's just the white pepper, and it's not only this wine, many Zinfandels. I find Zinfandels fall into those two categories either, and it's usually depending on the processing of it. How much of that new French oak does it go into the spice world, or does it stay into the white pepper world, depending on the amount of oak that's in there. So for my palate, I'm tasting more of that baking spice thing.
Okay.
So I could be completely wrong, but to my palate, it's got more of that baking spice area. So a little bit, maybe more oak influence on it.
Right.
But then again, it is a 2016. I don't know when it was bottled. So how long did it spend in the barrel? That makes the difference also.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that cave, there's barrels in the cave. Obviously there's barrels in the cave, but they also look like you can have like private dinners or private tastings in the cave. So yeah. It really is. It was beautiful.
There's a few different wineries in the Fairplay region that have caves. If people are into caves. Yeah.
That is pretty
really
cool.
Caves have a certain element. It's kind of
cool.
They do. And it keeps everything temperature controlled.
Yeah.
But I remember the first wine cave that I went into. It's something you remember all the time. You walk in and you're like, oh, and it was actually the first cave that we went into was Clos Pégase. So not only was it a cave, but they had, stacked, they had beautiful artwork down there. And,
that's one of the first ones I went into too. When I was talking to you at the very beginning about how my brother introduced me to wine, one of them was a Clos Pégase cab. And so when I first visited Napa, I was like, I have to go there because that was like one of the first wines that I enjoyed.
And it's a beautiful winery. And when you go into that cave, it is mesmerizing, the artwork and the statues and everything that are in there.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But caves are, wine caves, as even outside of the functionality of the wine cave, there's just a romanticism about them, and to be able to sit down and have a dinner in it or a tasting in it is pretty. But it's funny because this article I think was from like 2015, so years and years ago. And what it says is that one of the best things about El Dorado is that they celebrate diversity, not having a signature grape. And it's cool to know that, that was 2015 or somewhere around there, and that's still what's going
yes.
on.
There's still little disagreements amongst some of the wine, but I think at this point everyone's trying to embrace it. That's what we're going to do. The one varietal that had popped up on occasion is that people were saying we should be Syrah because no one's really owned Syrah, but no, we're not going to own Syrah.
But you have a diverse group of, diverse varietals that grow there, from like Pinotage. I mean, South Africa, right. Where else is it grown? Things like that it really is a uniqueness to the area.
It's so unique. And it's so, like, we were talking about the family stuff, the friendly stuff. There's really a sense of camaraderie here. The wineries really try to build each other up and not try to be like, that's my competitor. Mm-hmm. Instead, come to this region. The rising tide floats all boats, and let's all work together and build this region, harmoniously. And that's what a lot of the wineries do. They help each other out, and it's really great to experience that.
That's really nice. So we have big families, small families, big wineries, small boutique wineries, tasting rooms. We've got caves.
If you got gold, got gold,
and we got gold. So if one was to visit the area, are the wineries, do they take appointments? I mean, lots of things have changed since COVID, where you can just go from tasting room to tasting room or whatever. Do people take appointments, or if someone was coming to the area, should they map out where they want to go, make appointments, look at events, what kind of events that they're having, where to stay?
You can do all of the above. There's a few wineries that are appointment only, but a lot of them have reverted back to just come on up. We will accommodate you as best as we can. So they don't really stick to the hard and fast. You have to have an appointment.
Right.
So appointments are good. Appointments are good, but if you're
walk-in,
Are they open during the winter months?
Yes, there's a couple that aren't, but most of them are open during the winter months, but often only on the weekends.
Okay.
Some are still open, 7 days a week. Some are maybe 5 days a week, but.
All right. So Patty, I'll have to come up on a weekend. Somebody I know is listening.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Watching.
So
she's in Sacramento.
In prime season, most of the wineries are open 7 days a week.
So, yes and no. Again, they switch their hours. There are some that are just 3 days a week, or some that are only Saturday, Sunday. Again, because you have the little small mom and pop that they have other businesses. This is their sort of side, passion. Or you have people, they're going to be open 7 days a week because this is their primary. Going to be
the first to know.
Yes, I love when we release new stuff.
Well, we got a CDFA grant for this to develop kind of this movement, so to speak. And what it is we're going to have all the wineries, but not only wineries, like local restaurants, hotels, whitewater rafting company, all the different things there are to do. And you can go on, and when it's launched, it was originally going to be a mobile app. It's a web-based app now, but people will really be able to plan where they want to go, what they want to see. And if you join, it's like a $10 a month subscription kind of thing. Then you get insider benefits and insider pricing. And even if you don't live locally, you'll be able to take advantage of getting wines shipped to you at, or being part of a wine club or virtual events, winemaker dinners. This is all part of this really robust new software platform, really, that's going to be launched. That's really bringing the region together and providing all that information, so people will be able to drill down into what varieties they want to taste, be able to see what events are happening. So it's kind of exciting.
That's phenomenal. And is that being kind of routed through you? Through your website?
It will, yes. It's in beta testing right now. So it will be, ElDoradoWines.org. You'll be able to find it there once it's up and going.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
And that's pretty cool, because if somebody's coming in, if they can say, I want to taste this, and this, and it can tell you where to go
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And then you can map it out as to what is the best route to
Yes,
get to
there'll be
all
a
of your
mapping
stuff.
feature as well, so they'll be able to.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Kind of like how
large region.
Kind of like
yeah.
how the only time people go, or the only time I go to MapQuest is when I have to go to multiple locations, and then MapQuest has that feature where it says "Show me the best
You can
route."
add on, yeah.
Yeah,
Patty
you can
says-
add on.
Patty says she'd be happy to be a tester for your
There
app.
you go.
She's in Sacramento.
Oh wow!
She's in
You
Sacramento.
know, that's too bad, Patty, because we just finished up the beta testing.
Oh, we were too late for you, Patty. Sorry. But yeah, so thank you so much. I mean, El Dorado sounds amazing. And I really do think I was there. Like when you were talking, I was having flashbacks.
That's really cool.
But where can we go find out more about you, El Dorado wineries?
ElDoradoWines.org. That's where you can go get all the information.
And there's links in there, right, to specific wineries. You can find the wineries that are part of the.
Yep. You can go look on that, and you can go, Patty, you should come over to look at and experience Winecation happening September 16th to 18th. So go onto the website, click on Winecation, and take a look at everything that's going on with that, because that's going to be fun. Like I said, every winery on that platform when we have Winecation is becoming a destination in and of itself. So we have one winery that's actually becoming an African safari.
Oh, wow.
Another winery where you can go and have a wagon ride and taste some wines, cave tours, bottle your own. Like, it's just every winery has a really cool experience, and it's just going to be a really fun event.
That's fantastic. And that's September, you said 16th through 18th?
Yeah, September 6th. Yeah, 17, 18. Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
Guys, you contact me when you're planning on coming, and we'll set something up.
All right.
That
That's
would be
perfect.
Okay.
wonderful.
Sounds
Awesome.
good. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Give me the red wine.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoytbud. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Music is Wine by Kevens. Until next week, sláinte.
Irish coffee, banana